Welcome to Erotic Wisdom with Mrs. Love.
Okay, hello everybody, and here we are again with Erotic Wisdom, the fascinating wonderment to be living in a body. I am Valentina Leo, your host, and today with me I've got JASMEEN HANA. Thank you. Thank you for being with me today, JASMEEN.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm so happy to be here, Valentina.
Yeah, me too. I met JASMEEN a few months back. She came to South Africa with Easter, facilitating level 2. And I was a student joining her circle. And yeah, that's how the connection started. And I think I fell in love with you there and then.
It was both of us. Yeah.
It really happened, you know, when I saw you again online on the Easter Festival. I mean, I really have such warm feelings for you. And I'm so enchanted by your presence and your beauty. And so I'm embracing this. I love to be in love with you. And so you are originally from Egypt. I just want to maybe speak a little bit about you. I live in South Africa. Somehow Egypt doesn't feels like Africa. It's a bizarre thing, but there you go. You are also African. And I just wanted to, ask you to share what we spoke briefly earlier. And I thought, oh, wow, this is a beautiful pearl, maybe to start this conversation together about, always love to hear how Africa moves people when they come. And, you were sharing with me that after the retreat ended, it was near Johannesburg. I flew back to Cape Town. And where did you go?
I stayed in Johannesburg with our dear sister Ursula. She took me to a park. Honestly, I don't remember the name, but I do remember it was the full moon in Leo and in the sign of Leo. And I knew I needed to see the lions up close. And we drove there, and literally maybe just a meter away from us, there was a herd of lions, like young ones in the trees, big majestic ones, and one came and stood and just eye gazed with me. And you know the power of eye gazing, like we do a lot of eye gazing in Tantra.
Of course.
But to
receive... It was a Tantric lion.
To receive it so clearly with just full presence, to feel the power, the majesty, the sovereignty of this animal, this creature, this being, this divine being, was so potent. And I actually, before I came to South Africa, I met a dear, what I call my elder mama in Egypt. She lives by the Sphinx. And I said, I need to plant a black seed that's going to come like a stone, that's going to come from Egypt to the south. Something around feminine leadership. I don't know what it is yet. So she gave me a black crystal, and it was connected to the Sphinx, and it was from around the Sphinx area, which is also a big lion. And so when I planted it down by the place of the seat of civilization, of the birth of civilization, there was something there that I knew was going to be born. When I looked into this lion's eyes, I knew it was around feminine leadership was about to be born. Maybe in myself, it definitely changed me, my whole cellular constitution. Something got aroused from deep in my core, was the importance of leadership and speaking up, sovereignty, the emotional hygiene around me, my energetic body being pristine. And yet it's not just in the light and it's in power, like this primal force of nature that we all have, or that I feel like in this level 2 we tapped into, was power. In the deep seat of our body lies power. that got awakened. And since then, I can say my life has changed. So when just bringing it back to the power of Africa, I feel spirituality has moved through India to Tibet, and then it's the Americas and South America, North America, the shamanic traditions, the native Indians. There's so much that came, so much wisdom around how we connect to nature or how we connect to the spirit world. But I feel the next wave is now coming from Africa, actually. That's going to be a big awakening, a spiritual awakening. And I feel it has to do with the deep embodiment of spirit in matter, in the body, power, the innocence of our sexuality, the dance, and also the sense of sovereignty. And when I look at the world these days, it's like all around, there's just so much, we don't own our information. We don't own anything. Like in a way, we're just part of the system. No, this is, I feel like we need to reclaim as a humanity back our sovereignty, our right to our information, to our freedom, to just our basic humanity. And for me, that's the heartbeat, the pulse, the message of Africa. So
yeah, wow, beautiful. It makes me want to go also and eye gaze the lions. Wow, was it a male lion with a mane?
Yeah.
Or a lion? Yes, wow, yeah. Beautiful. And yeah, and also speaking from you, like all this time while you were talking, when I see you, I really see also this Blue Lotus medicine that you are carrying. And I've done some practices with you with this, and you do bring your Egyptian wisdom also in the context of the Ista training, so in the context of the practice of sexual awakening and sovereignty. Do you want to speak a little bit into this? What is the Blue Lotus medicine? Because I attended one of your initiation, but I would love for you to also share that. Somehow I saw the Blue Lotus and the lion coming together. You know, also you spoke about the Sphinx.
Yes, the Blue Lotus came to my life. I think the first time I ever drank the Blue Lotus, I was about 21. And I remember my eyes went like really big. And I said to the person next to me, I'm like, this is going to be a lifelong love affair. I knew it. It completely left my world and my awareness for many years until I went back to see the temples in Egypt. This was about 6 years ago. Everywhere on the walls is the Blue Lotus. Now the Blue Lotus was already coming in, out and in, but to actually see it everywhere and then to have, again, connected to the actual flower, it stirred something in my deep inner waters, my memory, right? Like it's the sense of, I know this flower and I know the importance of this flower. Now there's a legend after that. I realized there's other beings who feel this connection. So as I shared and asked and got to know more, what I learned is that there's a legend in Egypt that says that when the Blue Lotus comes back to the Nile, that consciousness of the planet and humanity will rise again. People will remember themselves. So it's completely wiped out from the Nile. But there's actually some beings who really commit their life now to find the original seeds and to find ways of planting it. So there's some who are already doing that. For me, the medicine of the flower, and it's also not just Egyptian, it's found in many different other cultures, is it comes from the mud and it comes from the muck and it comes from the sticky and slimy and like, you know, from the dirt into this most fragrant, exquisite beauty. Like the smell of the Blue Lotus, it's intoxicating. It literally is intoxicating. That's why in some countries they don't even, like, they consider it like a drug because of the effect it has, but it does stir something deep inside. For me, it creates a sense of incredible presence, awareness. It's a dream flower. It's able to navigate between worlds. So it was used for dreaming, not just dreaming at night and losing consciousness, no, consciously dreaming, being awake between the worlds, and in a way opening up to our more shamanic potential. And it's an aphrodisiac. And so I feel now's the time where the waters are stirring and people are waking up and realizing it's very important that we do not disconnect sexuality from spirit. And that's the work that you do and that I honor so much, is reclaiming back this innocent life force energy and allowing it to run through the body, as below, so above. It's all sacred, right? So this aphrodisiac quality of the flower arouses the heart. It arouses the spirit, arouses, you know, like for me, my sensor in life is I don't do anything unless it arouses me. Like, why?
Yes. I love that. We need to fall in love.
Yes.
You know, this falling in love consciously and let it happen. And let us be intoxicated. Even when you say, you know, the archetype of the Tantrika is intoxicated. But it's intoxicated also by the love of life, by my own nectar, by my potential. And we have this idea that intoxication won't let us see the truth. And sometimes when you are intoxicated by the truth, we see so much clearer.
Beautiful.
We skip through all the conditioning. So yeah, bring it on. Intoxication and arousal.
Arousal, and the word also was very clear presence. So I feel like sometimes there's a fear to go into this, I love what you said, this intoxication almost of spirit, intoxication of truth, of love. It's but in that, there's not a loss of consciousness. There's actually a rising of consciousness, a flowering of consciousness, right? Because presence and awareness is there. So a lot of the training I've done in my early 20s was to sit for many, many, many hours in meditation just to focus my attention on my breath and my awareness and not let it go anywhere. This has been a foundational seed. So I also honor this work of creating a foundation. And yet, just that is so dry. Like there has to be the sap and the juice and the femininity, you know?
Yeah,
both of us are like
a little bit of water. Otherwise, the lotus can't grow on dry mud.
Yes. And I feel this was the gift of Egypt. If you look at for those who've been to the temple walls or seen them, you know, there's erections. There's actually beings standing full erect. And some of them even show the seed coming out because it's understood this is fertility. We are not here. And all of us are born from this nature. So it's so, it's divine. So the lotus, the animal that did not, that humans are better or more aware than, no, actually the gods, when they reached enlightenment, or let's say beings who reached that, there you could see that they had the mask or the face of a lion or an eagle, or because these creatures also have divine qualities that we can learn from, like the lion, its majesty, its and also the playfulness, the meow meow. It's it's got such a transmission, I feel, for beings. Like I feel blessed that in this quarantine time I can also be a cat, you know. I can learn how to lounge, how to rest, how to, it's important, how to self-care, you know. There's qualities, the eagle and the way it's able to see from high. So all of nature was part of this shamanic spiritual school. Was so connected to nature. And I feel that's what's coming back. We're remembering our nature. People are growing their food again, or realizing they need to grow their food, have a connection to land, put their hands in the earth, remember where they came from, remember community and love and togetherness and connection. This isolation is probably the biggest dis-ease. It's unnatural, you know.
Yeah, and it's interesting. It's like we've been given the homeopathic dose, you know, that isolation is the sickness of the contemporary world. And now we're all being put into self-isolation. Yeah, it's like homeopathic. You take in the poison that will fix the poison. So we've been given an extreme dose of what was already happening. So in order for us to break through, and actually see how it became the biggest disease. For me, it's interesting to see this because, yeah, that's isolation. Like, you know, I've got this image of this lion so strong in me now. You see that something. And I feel, you know, it's connected to everything you speak. You know, first you spoke about these gods in the temple of Egypt becoming erect, the seed, and that's presence. You also spoke about present, and you know, the erect lingam, the penis when it's erect, is really present to what's happening to the body in that moment. It's so present that become hard, becomes so dense of presence. And then immediately I'm thinking of this lion that is also so present, and in also the fierceness, you know, not just the beauty, because lions are beautiful and majestic, and cat, so they also have this feminine quality. But also what struck me about the lion is they are fierce in their beauty also. And this is one quality that is arising in me in this isolation time. I start to really honoring my rage. I think for a long time I've been covering my rage. I've been wanting to be the good person, kind, nice, accepting, you know, that also is a spiritual aspect. Oh, I can't understand, but accept, I still love you. Oh, I don't agree, but oh, it's my trigger. I'm going to look inside of me, what's wrong with me, and do my work so that I can accept everything that comes my way. And now, actually, there is something else that also is arising that is like, no, I'm not going to accept anything that comes my way. Sure, I will look what it does to me, but also when I need to have the no or the rage or cutting someone's head, or, wow, like the lion is not ashamed of being bloody. Also, you know, that rage, it's also sacred and holy. And I have been not so comfortable with that aspect of my being, I have to admit. And I'm uncomfortable to say this even, but I really been watching, because in days, every now and again, I am raging. I am raging internally about what's happening. You know, I feel raw rage. And I want to ask you, how do you see that in the context of sovereignty? This is a word I struggle to pronounce.
You got it, sovereignty.
Sovereignty.
Yes.
So has it got a place to be so present that also when I need to say no, stop trying to see there is something wrong with me, but recognize. When do I recognize that the rage is holy and is not my ego playing out?
Beautiful. Yeah, so there's you touched on quite a few things, and they're all connected. First of all, I want to say just the gods or goddesses of Egypt, actually they're considered forces of nature, which doesn't make them something above us. They're pulses and forces of nature that exist within us all. The second thing I wanted to share was around the erection of the phallus. Now, big part of what I feel is happening now is there's almost like the impotent or the phallus of it's like true.
Yeah.
And it's this, what's happening is our resurrection, or it's almost like our passion, that our human soul is coming back on, where it's been like asleep or dysfunctional a little, but there's this whole sap of life force energy, this fuel that's coming from the deep earth into our bodies, remembering who we are. This is such an important part of allowing ourselves to be unashamed of our inner erection and stand straight, right? Because that is going to lead to that part, which is the second, this part around actually being able to voice our note, our sound in the world. And what you said is really powerful, that we are able to say no. Can you imagine if a lot of people came together and said no, how everything would change? but it needs this erection from deep inside, the permission, the inner permission from every being to themselves, to their own soul, to say, enough, I'm not going back to sleep, I'm waking up, I'm resurrecting, I'm erecting myself. So speaking of forces of nature, and going back to the lion now, there's a story or a mythology around Sekhmet. Now Sekhmet, I don't know if you heard of her. So people will say she's a goddess. Yes, no, she's a force of nature. Now, when the world was going into havoc, people were losing awareness, there was just like the loss of integrity. Ra, the so sent
Sun
down,
god.
yes, solar force, sent down this force of nature to say, destroy that. So she embodies the medicine of that radical transformation, in the sense she destroys in order for there to be a new birth into new life. So that's the medicine. And with that, her rage, the holy rage, the burning fire from deep within, could purify that. So if we go on an elemental level, this fire, this rage, is a burning fire. It's passion, it's integrity, it's the part of our sovereignty that knows we cannot continue to listen to the outside world and say, yes, 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 impotent, not standing up to our strength, our power, our human right to our voice, to our sovereignty, which is our freedom, is so important. It requires this burning. So this burning, every being will know when it arises naturally, but from the core of their heart, from their body, from their soul. It's very different to go into the immature masculine, which is not in his erection and in his integrity, that will want to break everything around, that will destroy things, without this deep presence and this knowing that it's coming, welling up from the deep inside. You know what? It's very different when it's coming from the mind, or when it's coming from the core of our being, from our soul, from our cells. It's a very different sensation. And one will know, because one will feel like integral empowerment with integrity. The other will feel like a 5-year-old kid that's waiting for punishment. One will die because it's true. It's like a rush, a fire of truth. And the other, the immaturity of it, after that will feel guilty, will feel worse, in a sense, right? So to stand up and say no with this fire from the soul, after that, it's like, I said it, but there's an expansion, a freedom, everything opens. Regardless of what happens, it doesn't matter. It's like, I stood for my truth in my integrity. And in that, yes, this rage has full permission. And actually, I feel it's required. Now, there's another way to access that without waiting for an outside situation, is that we are given a space in our own homes to run our rage when we feel angry without hurting anyone, ourselves, or anything. So as you went through some of the process or the tools that we did in the ISTA training, for example, you get your hands and you put them, we could do it together.
I love this.
And you put it in front.
Share it with my daughter.
Good.
Yes.
So you put it in front of your mouth and you scream, but you don't scream from your head. It's not, it's from the gut, from the belly, right? So from the blood, you know. So let's do it together, and you shake your body as you do it. Yeah. And to keep bringing it lower down into the belly. So eventually it will be like, like really low from the guts. That's the raw, you know, that.
The lion again.
The lion,
we
the
go
power.
back.
We go back. Yeah. So our rage, you can do this at home actually. But again, as you do this, there's an intention to clear, not to attach to a story of why you're angry. And then it's like, will go on for hours, days, months, a lifetime. One will never be cleared. the rage, the access to it is to feel it, to vibrate it, to be empowered, to erect, and then to release and let go, like to not stay attached to the story. So when you feel rage for whatever reason, you're feeling angry at things that are happening, yes, access the rage and then clear it from the body. So you might still feel like it might call you to a specific action. It might call you to a group of beings that come to, great. And yet it has to be creative. This fire has to continue in this flame of creativity and change and transformation. There has to be a rebirth on the other side, not a loop of destruction. That's not what it's for.
Yeah.
Sacredness. Yeah.
Yeah, that's when I hear you speaking. Also, the one that breaks everything for me, it's even more than the 5 years old, is a teenager. That is the punk, the rebellious, that is fighting against something. It just wants to push. It doesn't actually have a plan. It just wants to feel its own anger and just need to push and break things, but not in order to rebuild, break the illusion or break the misunderstanding in order for this erection to rise. It's just breaking for the sake of it, to feel my misunderstood erotic power. Actually, as I'm saying, this also this is what happened to teenager. Actually, there is this tremendous erotic flame that arises. They are completely unguided, the majority. I mean, I'm generalizing here. Surely this was my personal experience. And so the erotic fire also become just a rage to break thing, because I am not given the tools to meet my fire in a healthy way, in a way that would meet me, would give me direction in the world. And as we were doing this rage practice again, the screaming in the mouth, I felt again, immediately after when we finished, this fire in my belly that felt so good. There was a warm wave into my body. And so the connection again with holy rage and sacred sexuality, holy eroticism, erotic wisdom that here we're speaking about. It's all connected. And again, we're using the symbol of the erection to speak about sovereignty.
And actually you said a word after you said erection, you also said direction. So with this comes also, which is very important, because I feel very strongly that every soul wants to, in its essence, wants a purpose. And when there's like a deep, almost inner depression, or, you know, even the word depression is like deep restion, like there's a sense of needing to go, which we're kind of in on the planet, we're going into this deep rest place. But in essence, the soul needs to access its purpose and why it's here. Otherwise, that inner standing for something perhaps will not be accessed. So what is each person's purpose? Now that is the whole beauty of the soul journey, is what is your purpose? Now I have to say I'm so grateful for my journey to South Africa, because when I went back to Egypt, the lightning was on and I realized, yes, I love the world of Tantra, but I also feel it's time to expand this energy into humanitarian things, which is every being deserves to live abundantly. And the money system is one of the biggest, takes people's life force energy, because all their energy and time goes into creating money, which then goes back. So it's a vicious loop, really. And to create new systems, these systems I feel are very important. And I also feel passionate about how do we bring in an integrated feminine system into this whole ecosystem of money and governance and sustainability and community and building, and technology, which is a huge part of this. I feel how technology can serve our evolution and not be the cause for it and to decline. So this is where my passion, and I didn't know that until like I felt it, but it's a beautiful, empowering feeling to realize, what are you here for? And everyone will have that seed that once it's been watered will feel itself growing, and there's no stopping. It's like my inner nature is flowering, and everyone has their own seeds and passion and purpose. So it's important to make space and time to meet that inside and to listen to that, because it's a very, very silent voice. And now I feel it's like almost that like that time where we actually are forced to listen a little in the silence of everything. The soul of the world is emerging, our inner soul is emerging. So yeah. So also I want to share with some, it might be very distressing this time, or it might be the greatest gift or blessing you've ever had, in the sense, the permission to be still. And if you find yourself in distress, it's like, allow something in your life to die, allow it to go. If you're hanging on to something, the importance right now to remember the forces of life and death. Things are born and things end, and things are ending now. There's no going back. So our capacity to let go and allow this primal divine force of nature, of ending, of death, to come in. Just let the past go now. It's time.
So tell me a little bit more about this. You spoke about this Egyptian force of nature, goddess. Shechem, how do you call it?
Sekhmet.
Sekhmet. How does she appear, and how did that story goes when Ra asked for her to bring destruction? What happened? What does she destroy? And just feel like the timelessness of this story. This destructive force.
Yeah.
How does she present herself? Because the name sounds familiar, but there are some detail. What animal does she embody? What form?
She's the lioness. She's a lion.
She's the lioness.
Yes.
Okay.
So she is the lioness. It's interesting that you say what's her connection to the Blue Lotus, because she actually is married to Ptah, who is the spoken word, the power of the spoken word, the architect of everything, through the vibration of just purity, truth, and it's sounded into the world. So this force, which might seem destructive, is actually married or in union with this power of precision and the power of truth that sounds through the universe, that creates the architecture of everything around us. And they birth together Nefertum, which is the Blue Lotus. So just keep that trinity, right? But the story of Sekhmet, so of course it's a story, is that she comes and straight away, she just consumes and devours everything in her way. It's a bloodbath. Everywhere is this blood. And she gets a little bit drunk on this blood. And people are like, okay, enough. So what they do is, the story is that they get beer and they make it red. So they put some kind of pigment into the beer, so it's red. So she looks at it and she sees blood. She drinks. She gets so drunk, and then she turns into a pussycat. And so the other side of Sekhmet is also Bast, which was a very revered also force of nature, which is the other side of this feline energy, which is softness, self-care, sovereignty, the ability to see between worlds, and also birthing. She's there at times of childbirth. So, but yes, that's the story of Sekhmet. So there's also a lesson in that, is the rage, one can get drunk on it. And so alone, just that alone, without this Ptah, without this holy precision, without this pristine awareness, so it needs both. That's why I love this Blue Lotus, is because I feel it embodies that, the purity of nature in its totality, from this raging passion to, at the same time, the sharpest mind that is able to birth something so pure and holy and sacred like the lotus. So, and saying that, it's important to still feel the holy rage when it burns, for sure. Yeah.
Wow, beautiful. It reminds me, I mean, I love how this story in the ancient culture are all very similar. You know, it confirmed this knowing that we all come from one knowing, actually. And it takes many form and many flavor and many appearance, but is one knowing. Because in the traditional Tantric tradition, we have Kali, that also was sent to kill the demon that no other gods could kill, that was destroying ignorance, that was overcoming reality and was damaging the natural expression of things. And so she comes and she kills the demon, she kills the baddie, but then she gets drunk on killing. And she also drinks the blood, and she in fact, that was the way she could prevent the demon from reproducing. She was drinking their blood. So this is quite a similarity of becoming intoxicated by the rage of destroying. And then she started destroying everything regardless. And so the gods went to Shiva and said, hello, my sweet darling Shiva, go check in on your consort, because we can't control her now. You are the only one she would listen to, because she loves you and she cares about you. So can you do something? And so he goes, and that's when he lies on the floor with his erection. And she comes and sits on him. So again, she is quietened by the rage turned into the erotic wisdom of present. He wrote present and alignment and reminded her, you know, the balance, not to tip too much over. And so she needed him, you know, that's, as you say, you know, the marriage. To birth the beauty, the lotus, we need this. The polarity not to be too extreme, you know, so then everything has a place and you don't push it over the edge.
Yes. These stories, I feel, are so similar through all the mythologies that are such human-like experiences. So these, it's just a reminder that we're so close to these forces of nature. They are us and we are them. And I do feel a new wave coming through, which is also this ma'at frequency, which is that which has moved through the intensity of the human emotion. And she's that aspect of nature. When one has moved through the intensity of the human emotion, so things are not so intense anymore. And moving into this realm, it requires a lightening of the heart. And we did a bit of that in South Africa, which means one's heart has to have forgiven. Ultimately, all the people in our life, forgiven even the way things are in the world, forgiven our powerlessness. And in the end, it's the ultimate forgiveness is to ourselves for ever having handed away our power, ever having transacted our love or our energy or our time for anything meaningless and soulless in the world. So once we've moved through that, we will realize there's no one to blame. No one. That's a great act of radical transformation. And in that, the heart is lightened, and this intensity and the waters of this human emotion, they still, because something deep inside of that awakens to the truth of everything and the true nature of everything. And then from there, I feel wise choices are made and masterful beings are being born. And these are the beings right now, I feel, that are going to create changes for others. And in the sense, we're all in this together. And also to honor that journey of awakening. This takes a radical inner awakening to be able to move through this, you know, the old fear, shame, guilt, all these places, and actually not have bypassed it, not have said my consciousness is better and more enlightened than any of that I've passed. No, to have vibrated through it, to have felt the deepest core shame, to have grieved, to have trembled in fear, to have had those experiences and still held a light of inner love and integrity, to move through that, to vibrate through to the other side. There's something, a beautiful quality of ma'at in that. And so that's, I feel, another initiation, and it's the initiation of the heart. and lightening the heart. And it feels how the corona has affected the lungs, and it's almost like a sense like we need to grieve. And I want to even use the word a collective grieving. Yes, my goodness, thousands of years, lifetimes, and just everything. There's so much reason to feel that.
Yeah.
You know, to block it is, I feel, again, to disconnect from the human soul and the greater soul of this planet. In a way, we're all connected. So this grieving process is important, but again, to not drown in the sorrow and the misery, to move through it, to vibrate through, and in that to know there's an opening and an expansion, and only something can be born of that, which is a deeper awareness, a compassion, and a radical love that will not go into blaming and shaming and and the whole old power play. No, it's awakened inside to its own power, and in that it can only be a beacon of truth. So yeah.
Wow, that was a power cocktail. You spoke about so many powerful pearls of absolute truth. Ooh, thank you. That was a big transmission. Yeah, to have felt the core shame, yeah, that's a big piece. For me, one day I realized that my biggest shame was that I'm only human, actually. That I want to be God, that I want to be Shiva, that I want to know everything, that I want to be omnipresent and omnipowerful. And I want to realize myself so badly. And instead I'm human. And there is so much humanity that constantly meets me. And I feel ashamed at the core of it. That I'm just a human being. I'm not a superhuman. Yet. Maybe one day. And so that for me was a big piece, because is that shame that it's at my core. You know, there is no blaming of anything. It's just my human experience, actually. And once I could embrace that with just real, you know, just to see it, and then the relationship now with my human experience is so much richer. You know, because that's where I understand lies. That's all you just said. My spiritual experience is in grieving my humanity, just because I am utterly human. And when I allow myself also to grieve my humanity there, wow, then there is space for the spiritual experience within my humanity, not bypassing the humanity, not avoiding my humanity, but in the nitty-gritty, the agony, the extagony, we call it now.
I love it.
The ecstasy and the agony at once.
Wow.
Extagony of my humanity.
Oh, yes. Oh, beautiful. Yeah, I recently I've been saying to myself, I don't feel like I'm only a spiritual person, or the word spiritual. I feel like I'm becoming more of a humanitarian type of person, just in the sense that there's something about opening my heart to realizing I'm connected to the rest of humanity, and I'm a human. It's such right now it's been the path of opening my heart to life, to the fullness, to the richness, to the ugly, ugly ecstatic of
extagony, the agony of being human.
And the agony.
You know, sometimes from this point of a soul, I notice it's agony for a soul to be embodied, to be so limited, to have a form that sometimes it's so defined in my expression. You know, and as a soul, as spirit, we are so free. We can be everywhere. We know it all at once, and you know, the truth resonates. The beingness. This is how I imagine, or I remember. I don't know. And I also know that being in a body, being in the embodied experience, is by itself traumatic. you know, that suddenly we limited, we have an expiry date, and you know, we need food we need sleep, we need connection. And sometimes I feel I'm so needy as a human being. Also, I don't want to need food. I just want to be here without needing anything for me to thrive in the human body. But actually the human body does need enough sleep and water and human connection and intimate relationship, you know, and I think I'll be so much freer if I didn't need all of that. You know?
It's the paradox, huh? The pleasures of the human body, the pleasure of sleeping, the beauty of dreaming at night and waking up, like, you know, sex and food and breathing, and then there's the whole paradox of it. So much, you know, there's like, it's like when you're sharing, I just feel the marriage, there's like two marriages that happen. One is between the animal and the spirit, and the spirit is usually like, I am the animal, you're an animal, you shit, you fuck, da, 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 da.
You kill, you get drunk on blood. How gross is that?
So when the animal is elevated or remembered for its sacredness, and this marriage that happens between the body and spirit, when it starts to happen, is exquisite. And then this gap between spirit and animal starts, they actually feel like, wow, we're together, we actually need each other. And the other is the masculine feminine, no, like the split between this masculine and feminine energy. So these two divisions are such core divisions, but when they meet inside the heart, wow. And it's a journey, it's a journey. It's a journey.
Is the journey, I guess. Is the biggest journey that we have in our dimension at this time here, where we're meeting in this time-space structure. You know, and also, you know, again, when you beautiful for me, touch me this, because I guess is my piece right now, this marriage between spirit and animal. And so I remember when you said, you know, in the Egyptian culture, this awakened being present themselves in form of animal, half being. And this also come through in the Dakini lineage of Tibetan Tantra. You know, the Dakini is this energy force, this wisdom of the heart of reality, often in the tradition presented themselves half woman, half animal. You know, in the 64 Yogini temple in India, you go, and there is sculpture, and each one of them either has the body of an animal or the face of an animal, or just the claw in a beautiful, erotic, feminine, curvaceous body, and then just claw, or wings, or fangs, something that is also animalistic. And
wow, sounds beautiful. I must look into that.
Oh, yeah. You enjoy it. Such richness in being with you.
Well, your intention was to learn, and I feel like I've learned and shared, and I feel enriched by pearls of wisdom. And yes.
Yeah, me too, absolutely.
Yeah.
So say something's coming up for you.
Yes, I wanted before, now I don't know if this is the bonus or if we go into it, just around the importance of what I feel, our connection to water, our sacred fluids, our blood, our semen, and also how it connects to the waters. And I feel this is a very important part in reawakening and reactivating our memory of our own divinity that's not divine, like not a concept, it's in our bodies. These fluids are so powerful, they create life. So how we work with our water, how we work with, and with our blood, with our cycle, but also with the seed, how we honor the seed, and also how we start working with water as an element, because it makes up so much of the planet and it makes up so much of our body. So, and there's such an intelligence to this element. So just
so I want to just pause you there, not stop you, pause you. I think that's perfect material for our bonus episode.
Great.
So we can wrap this longer interview here, which is about 45 minutes. It's an hour actually.
Great.
So it's perfect for some people that needs to put on pause and go and do something else. And so I want to end just by asking you, because I'm not too sure for myself, because when I hear you talk like this, I just want to become your student. I want to come to Egypt and learn from you. And how do you teach the tradition of Egypt? And how do you teach? How are your teaching being offered in this time? How can people find you? And then we wrap it up, and then we stay. I'm just going to close this recording, and then we reopen another.
Perfect.
Please.
Okay. So you can find me on my website, www.egyptian-templearts.com, and perhaps it will be written under this recording.
Yes, I will.
Yeah, so I come from a lineage of initiation, and we go through soul initiations. Been doing that for years. So I offer, now with this lockdown and everything, it's changed. I had a journey in September called RESUR-ERECTION for 10 days on a boat. I'm unclear if it happens or not, depending, of course, on travel. But I do spend about 4 to 5 months a year in Egypt, and when I'm there, I offer workshops or longer retreats and events. Otherwise, I'm found in ISTA. You can find me. I facilitate, but which is a ISTA level 1-2 program. And there I add a little bit of the Egyptian element, but it's not, of course, it's a co-creation, and we have a fixed way of how we share and facilitate these trainings. I'm also halfway through creating a powerful 9-month Egyptian initiation journey, which will be up on my website soon, and also a 3-day Blue Lotus initiation journey. So just stay tuned, and it will be up in the near future. I also sometimes take young initiates or initiates under my wing in a way. If I feel someone's resonating, then they should reach out to me. But those who are sincerely seekers of this lineage and of this truth and these wisdoms that are coming from the land, so those who feel connected to the land. Yeah, so I also offer sessions for those who want to go deeper one-on-one. So you can find me also on my website, and that's it for now. Yeah,
that's wonderful. That's very inspiring. And I will write all your links also and your emails into the comment underneath the video for YouTubers and under the comment of the podcast. And so thank you very much for sharing all that you have so far. I almost feel like, well, I'm definitely going to listen to all of this again and put pause at some point to integrate. There's been a moment where you just out of your mouth, such pearls of truth align like a beautiful necklace of pearl. So thank you so much for being with us today. And for who wants a little bit more, connect with the bonus episode. And normally that only happens on the podcast. So if you are on YouTube, you'll find the link underneath. And so you don't go away now. I'm just going to pause this recording, and then we're going to carry on. Okay. Ciao, everybody.
Ciao. Thank you.